In the episode Pool Hopping, Steven helps Garnet perform random acts across Beach City.
Have a pizza! Paint me like one of your amethysts.
Paint me too!
While at first, Steven thought it was a day of fun activities to help Garnet flex her future vision potential, the day takes an emotional turn when Garnet's anxieties and insecurities about the failings of future vision come to light. Garnet ends up having a panic attack when she can't determine what the future holds in store for a box of abandoned kittens. Garnet's struggle heavily resonated with me because in many ways future vision itself can represent, or at least be analogous to, generalized anxiety disorder. Generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD for short, is pretty much what it sounds like. Irrational, uncontrollable worry and dread, chronic apprehensive expectation, and the slew of symptoms that accompany that. Anxiety manifests in different ways, and the exact specifics will vary from person to person. Thus, in this video, I can only truly draw comparisons to myself and my own experiences. In that regard, this will be a highly personal video, and my analysis will be framed from that angle. Several years ago, I experienced an onset of major depressive disorder, and a couple years after that, generalized anxiety decided to tag along. For about a year, the anxiety was rather intense, and at times I would experience panic attacks that would leave me immobilized. More recently, it's felt like my depression has grown and gobbled up the anxiety, so now it only lurks in the background and nags more so than debilitates, and I haven't had a full-blown panic attack in quite some time. Still, even though my GAD isn't as bad as it once was, when I have a task to do in the future, my mind often recalls that task, and then jumps to every single other possible thing I also have to do at some point in time, and even to activities I'd like to do for fun that I never managed to get around to. Countless thoughts get intermingled into a big, writhing, messy mass. Rather than focusing on a singular specific task and, doing it, my mind turns into a swarm of irresolute bees that can't decide where to build their hive, and as a result, I sometimes find ways to procrastinate and temporarily ignore it all, while other times, I freeze up and end up doing absolutely nothing for extended amounts of time. It's a paralyzing sensation, mentally and sometimes even physically. So when it comes to Garnet and her future vision, I hope the overlap is already apparent. When Garnet no longer feels confident in the reliability of her power, the innumerous potential paths completely overwhelm her. She freezes up, and not only fails to form a prediction, but also loses sense of her place in the world.
I don't know anything anymore. But I don't know what I'm doing here.
Watching this scene hit very close to home for me. The type of worry associated with generalized anxiety disorder is more intense and permeates the psyche more so than the standard worries and stress we all experience. As somebody who hasn't always had GAD, I can make that claim with confidence. This is where I want to draw comparison to the manner in which future vision is carried out. Future vision is a mentally taxing ability. Using future vision mandates mental exploration of each potential branching path reality could take. We saw this play out in the episode Winter Forecast.
Garnet, what happened?
I passed my ability to you for just a moment.
You mean I had future visions?
Future vision is like a hyper-realistic dream in a sense. While not technically real, you still have to live out the experience of the potential future you're exploring, and unlike most dreams which the memories of fade after you wake up, it appears that insights from future vision are stored to memory as much as a real-life experience would be. It's a stressful ability. In addition to worrying about the future, worrying which actions may lead to the preferred path and which actions could change the paths that don't end well, you are also burdened with an overload of mental stimuli, as you're forced to live out all these possibilities to know about them. I personally find that extremely relatable. It's comparable to how stress from anxiety can feel, and the frenzy of apprehensive thoughts and feelings is something you have to try and keep in check lest it overwhelm you. When my mind gets hung up on the near future, the concerns and vague worries are always far more taxing on me than the tasks I actually have to carry out end up being. In a similar sense, future vision can have you experience multiple horrible potential realities that won't actually happen. Garnet had one line of dialogue in particular that struck a chord with me more than any other.
It's so hard for me to just exist in the first place, Steven.
While Garnet is referring to the fact that she's a fusion, there's clearly a more abstract and symbolic meaning to her statement as well. This really made me reflect on my depression and anxiety combo, the tag team that often kicks my ass in the ring. When you suffer from depression, merely existing feels tiring. It's an arduous task that you often don't want to wake up for, which is extra unfortunate as I tend to have nearly exclusively bad dreams. So when merely existing is a draining and somber act, having anxiety go to town on your mind can feel like the straw that broke the camel's back. It's seriously upsetting and really frustrating, and Garnet's delivery of her dialogue captures that feeling phenomenally. In general, I really appreciate how Garnet's outward demeanor actively hides how unstable and troubled she sometimes feels on the inside. I think it serves as a nod to how many people manage to cope with mental illness and lead regular lives while still struggling with their affliction. While talking about it and being open with people you trust is an immense help, many people still won't bring it up or may even purposefully hide it when it comes to other areas of their lives. You can't always tell what a person is struggling with or how composed they are purely by looking at the persona they wear in public. This leads me to another element of the episode pool hopping that I found relatable, and that's how Garnet decides to act silly and spontaneous when she's the most vulnerable. That's a coping strategy I have personally deployed my entire life, and it's especially pertinent for how I sometimes deal with depression and anxiety. When the negative emotions aren't quite strong enough to overwhelm me, but are still having an effect, I have a knee-jerk, nearly subconscious reaction to act out, be overly animated and random, and put on a facade of lackadaisicalness, and even pomposity. It serves as a cover, but it's primarily an attempt to distance myself from the concerns and emotions I don't want to experience. It's like a subconscious attempt at deflecting my own thoughts. While Garnet's zany actions weren't purely for spectacle, she also had an end goal in mind. I still saw a lot of myself in her as she leads Steven around town to perform hijinks. Garnet and I have an overlap in our coping strategies, which I hope I shouldn't have to say. These quote-unquote strategies are not actually all that helpful. They act as a temporary escape from the problem, they don't actually deter or solve anything. Confiding in Steven is what ultimately allows Garnet to recalibrate her future vision, and confiding in others is often how we are able to recalibrate or reframe our own worries and concerns. Various forms of therapy are one potential method, although my limited personal experience with it hasn't gone too well. But even outside a professional setting, simply having loved ones you can openly talk to and express your feelings towards is a huge help. And even if your life still feels directionless afterward, which it pretty much assuredly will, it still helps with the day-to-day. I know I shouldn't stress over everything at once, I know it ends up being counterproductive, but simply knowing isn't enough. It's still hard to deal with it in the moment, so it helps when somebody else can be there to help guide you or simply remind you about taking it one step at a time.
Maybe instead of thinking of all the things that could happen, let's just pick the thing we want to happen and do that.
Having people in your life who care about you is very important, and I love how Steven Universe illustrates this on many occasions. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video and my musings on the episode pool hopping. I did a rapid-fire review of this episode in a prior video, but I wanted to return to it to get more up close and personal. And yeah, I feel like it was quite personal. Thanks for watching. If you'd like, you can follow me on Twitter and Twitch, or throw some coin my way on Patreon. New Steven Universe episodes are nearly here, so I guess I'll see you then. We have a premiere date for Adventure Time's Minecraft episode, although still no word on the finale, but you bet your ass I'll have videos on those episodes when they release as well. Hopefully this video wasn't too much of a bummer. I wanted it to be more uplifting, but I don't know if it ended up feeling that way. Catch you on the flip, I guess.